So today's video is going to be a nice quick little recipe. Hash browns. We all love them. Unless you don't like potatoes, and if that's the case, something wrong with you. Something wrong with you. Now, we normally get them in a bag from the freezer in a shop, and then we transfer them to our freezer, and then when you want a hash brown, you cook them up. And they kind of look like this. We all know what a hash brown is. Now, the problem with these is they're okay in a pinch, they do the job, but they're always invariably under-seasoned. You know, you've got the nice crispy kind of hash brown on the outside, you bite into it and it's just bland. Bland, boring, beige potato crap. So we're gonna make our own. And you'll be surprised how simple it is. Now there's lots of recipes out there to make hash browns. Now the common way to do it is you grate up raw potato, you rinse it in water, you strain it, you add flour, you add egg, form them into sort of hash brown shapes, you fry them off, and they're rubbish, to be honest. Because you always get that kind of raw potato flavour, and the kind of flour makes it a bit cakey and just, I don't like it. What is up with you? You're having a mad 5 minutes. But the method I'm going to use produces a much better hash brown, in my opinion. Now, onto the potato quickly. I'm using the King Edward, yes, the mighty King Edward. They're just a fantastic potato for, well, for roast potatoes for a start, chips and hash browns. Now, depending on where you live in the world, will depend on the variety of potato that you use. If you can't get hold of King Edwards, well then I suggest you flee your country and come and live here, because we have good spuds. But in all seriousness, any potato that you use for roasting is going to be fine for this. Now before we crack on, just a reminder to watch the video all the way through. Don't you skip it, don't you dare skip it. And also, if you haven't done so already, remember to hit that subscribe button. And when you do, make sure you click the little bell icon, allow notifications. That way, when I upload a new video, you get notified. And as always, all the ingredients will be below in the description. And the first thing we need to do is boil up some spuds. Right, so I've got a pan of boiling salted water here. Yes, I know it's a funny off yellow colour, but that's because I use celery salt. Why did I use celery salt? Because Adam forgot to buy normal salt. And well, I've only got a little bit left in my little salt pot thing, which I need to season the potato with after they're cooked. So the only other salt I've got is celery salt. That's why I've used it. So don't worry, it's not wee. So what we're going to do is take our potatoes and just plop them in. Now try to use potatoes that are roughly the same size so that they cook evenly. Now what you need to do is to par cook the potatoes. You don't want to cook them all the way through, because otherwise you're just going to end up with, well, mashed potato. And that's not what we want to achieve. But we want to cook them enough to take out that raw potato flavour. And when you par cook them like this, you kind of get that nice potato flavour, but you still get that kind of bit of resistance. You know, when you get a good hash brown, you can feel the little individual bits in your mouth. And these will probably take 15, maybe 20 minutes. It all kind of depends on the size of the potato, but all you want to do is just test it with a knife, and the knife should go in. You should be able to feel it and go, yeah, that's not quite cooked all the way through, but it is partly cooked, because that's what we're doing, par cooking the potatoes. So I'll see you folks in a bit when they're done. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes. Let's give these a try. Yes, I think they are par cooked to perfection. So I'm going to take them out, put them into a bowl. Now these, as is, are too hot to handle. So what I'm going to do now is rinse them under a cold tap for about 5 minutes so that we can handle them and grate them. Okay, so the potatoes have cooled down enough so we can handle them. And I'm just going to give them a once over, check that there's no rotten bits, no sort of grey spots or anything. Because I'm going to keep the skins on. You don't have to do that. You can peel them if you want. But there's lots of flavour in the skin, and I want to keep as much of that as possible in my hash browns. Literally, all I'm going to do is take my box grater and grate the flipping potato. Now some of the skin is going to come off as you grate it, don't worry about it, but just try to keep as much as you can in the hash brown mix. So I'm going to carry on, grate these puppies, and then I'll see you in a bit.
2,000 years later.
Right, so I've got our grated potato here, got a bit of skin left in there as well. And one thing you'll notice is it's very, very sticky. Okay, that's actually a good thing, because that's going to be our glue for the hash brown. So you don't need any flour, you don't need any eggs in there to bind it together. It's just going to use the natural starch in the potato. But the downside to this is because it's so sticky, it's going to be a bit more difficult to work the seasonings in. But that's the trade-off, folks. You want a good hash brown, you're going to have to trade some things off. But what I'm going to do is leave this to cool for a bit more, and then we can add the seasonings and form our hash browns. Okay, right, we are ready to season our mixture. What I'm going to do is just kind of spread it out a bit. It just makes seasoning this mixture a bit easier. I've got a bit more in the bowl here. Literally all I'm going to do is go on with some salt, a bit in there as well, some pepper, and I'm also going to add some garlic granules. This is entirely optional, but it's nice. And I'm just going to take my fork and just kind of try to work it in. It is a difficult mixture to work with, but you'll have a much more superior hash brown at the end. Taste a little bit. Lovely garlic flavour. I'm going to use the rest of that salt, because it does need it. And now that it's seasoned up, I'm just going to add it to the rest of the mixture. Have a final mix. So there we have it. That's the hash brown mixture done. It's perfectly seasoned. So all we need to do now is to make them into these. Right, let's make some hash browns. So I've got our frozen one here, which isn't frozen anymore. I'm just going to use that for reference. You could weigh them out all individually and get kind of perfect ones, but we don't live in a perfect hash brown world. So my hash browns are not going to be perfectly shaped either. But I'm going to use it for reference so we can get kind of close to it. I'm going to get some of the mix there. Try and form them into sort of even triangular shapes. There we go. Something like that. There's our first hash brown. So I'm going to whiz through the rest of these, get them all made up, and then we're ready to cook. There we go, folks. The hash browns have been made up. Look at that, compared to that, they look better already. Now what you can do at this point is freeze them. So get a baking sheet, put them all on one layer, pop them in the freezer until they're fully frozen. Then you can take them off the baking sheet, put them in a Ziploc bag, and you're good to go. Then you can take them out of the freezer, and you've got homemade hash browns, folks. Homemade hash browns. But I can't wait any longer. Let's fry some of these up. I love hash browns. Let's get this pan onto a heat. Got some oil in there, and I'm going to get this up to a medium heat. And as they get nice and hot, we're going to drop a few of these bad boys in. And literally all I'm going to do is fry these up for a couple of minutes each side until they go nice and golden brown. The potato finishes cooking in the middle, and we folks have hash browns. Homemade hash browns. Screw you, McDonald's. Mine are better than yours. Hash browns. They are ready to go. First I'm going to try the pre-bought, not as good as mine version. It smells really greasy though. It's crispy, taste of potato, but not much else. There's not much seasoning, not much flavour. So let's try my version. Here we go, my hash browns. Immediately they just smell better. That little bit of garlic powder just really gives it a good slap up the backside. Adds a nice bit of flavour, and there's plenty of salt and pepper. Now I know the salt police are going to be on at me because you should be using too much salt. I don't use too much salt. I use the right amount. And the great thing about them is you still got that sort of separation of potato. It's not mashed potato and it's not raw. It's somewhere in between. So you're not going to get that naff raw potato flavour that you would get if you were to just grate raw potatoes, add egg and flour and fry them off. I don't like that method. Doesn't work for me. And this is actually easier, uses less ingredients, and you get a much better result. So there we have it. That's my method on how to make the perfect hash brown. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up. Thanks again for watching. Leave a comment down below, and if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button, and when you do, make sure you click the little bell icon, allow all notifications. That way, when I upload a new video, you get notified. And I'll see your gorgeous faces in the next video, and bye for now. Hash browns. Hash browns. Hash browns. Bye.